From the world of AV programming and control with James King, I'm Steve Greenblatt, and this is Ask the Programmer. Hey, James, how are you today? I'm looking forward to our talk, and we get some chance for us to be one-on-one today.
Yeah, I'm doing good, Steve. How are you doing?
Doing well. It's I was coming off of some excitement on our past episode, and I think that that was something that we tried out a new format, and it seemed to work. At least we liked it. So hopefully our audience did too. And we're going to try it again today. So
Yeah.
just as a refresher, last episode we came up with a question and we gave three answers, and you have to rank the answers. And we came up with a way of ranking it by the top choice would be to maintain. The second choice would be to update, and then the third would be to deprecate, as using some programming terms. So,
Yeah.
why don't you take it away, James?
Sure. So the first one we have here, Steve, is what skills are most important for the success of AV programmers? And that's platform experience, expertise, software development, or networking IT.
Another tough, challenging question. So, I'm going to say maintain networking IT, because I don't think that we can get away from that. I feel like if you don't know that, then the other stuff is going to be hard to build upon. I think, and we're talking about AV programming, not just programming. I think software development, to me, is the future, and I've been on that bandwagon for a long time. So I'm going to say that would be update, and then deprecate the platform expertise, because I think we're going to start to see more platforms that are um, popping up, and some of the nuances of the platforms are going to be less important. However, if you asked me this some time ago, I would have said platform expertise is probably the top one, because that I know when I was in the programming seat and had to switch from doing one brand to another brand, you needed to understand, what were the secrets and the tips and the tricks that you needed to be successful, and you also needed to understand the languages in the platform and so forth. So I'm answering this in terms of looking ahead, and so I think maintain networking IT, update the software on software development, and then deprecate the platform expertise.
Uh, so a little shocking there. I don't know why. Because all that makes sense. For me, I would switch the networking and the software one. I would say maintain the software development. I agree with you. That is really coming along, and I think it's in a good spot. A lot of manufacturers are allowing programmers to use different software. Yes, we need to advance it, but I think it's in a good spot to maintain the current course it's on. Platform expertise, I agree with you. You lock yourself in a platform, you're basically locking yourself out of a job in the future. The network and IT, I want to say update, and that is because I don't feel enough AV people understand that. We are not, I mean, what I'm saying, this was a session I did at Infocom, um, is we are not to be the expert in networking or the expert in IT. But we need to be able to have those conversations and the same language because we are playing in the same sandbox. We are working in the same environment as these folks. And if we cannot communicate with each other properly, that's when friction and issues happen. So I really think we need to update that or upgrade that because I think that is what's holding us AV in general back.
Yeah, it's interesting. I do agree with you there, and it's it, what I'm finding, and maybe I look at things a little bit from one perspective, but more devices require authentication. There's a lot more that goes into understanding how to talk to devices over the network, and there's a lot more that goes into having successful control that is network dependent. I would say, it surprises me now when I don't see a product that we're controlling over the network, and we're doing AV over IP, and you definitely need to have your network chops to be able to get that working, as well as the other protocols that are IPMX and SDVOE. They're all going to be network centric, and I realize that that's not necessarily the programmer's focus, but if we're all trying to make an AV system work, the programmer has to be able to understand that, to be able to weigh in and troubleshoot and so forth.
Nope, I agree.
So let's hop over to the second one. And these next two are going to be are near and dear to both of our hearts, and we've talked about some of these on past episodes. And because both of us are in the position where we are either hiring or advising people in terms of programmers' careers and how to advance yourself as a programmer, and that's part of what we do at the on the Ask the Programmer community. So, what is the most important for an AV programmer's career? So, is it certifications? Is it just field experience, or is it having a good mentor?
Well, I mean, there could be an argument for all these being very important to the career. I am going to say maintain experience. I really think that is the cornerstone of anybody in any field is the experience they're going to get. I don't care what field you're in, you got to have that experience. So maintaining that is, I would say, good. Um, Next one I'm going to say upgrade or update is the mentorship. Having, someone with the better experience, more experience, help you along the path is very good. And I would say deprecate the certifications. To me with certifications, and I can go on a whole tangent about them, but they only have value if you yourself put value behind it. Just because you have a piece of paper does not mean you should or are good at what you do. It just means you're good at taking a test. Or it could be one of those where you attend and you show up. Cool. I've seen many of those, not just in AV programming, but other ones. You get a certification, all you had to do be in the room. Doesn't, and they should not be doing what they're doing. So really, I would say we need to deprecate that because I just think that whole system for certifications is broken.
Yeah, I think our answers are going to be similar there, and I could give a couple of different angles to them. But just for fun, I'm going to say I would start with maintain mentorship, because a good mentor, a good teacher can really get you far. If you have somebody that's willing to give you their experience and transfer their knowledge and be a reference to you and help to guide you, having a good mentor probably is priceless. I would say field experience, would be my second, which would be update. And I agree with you there that there's no replacement for experience. You need to be doing this, which is also kind of speaks to the next one with the certifications, which would be deprecate. I I like the certifications because they show a dedication, and they show that you have gone through the paces. But let me relate this to martial arts, and a lot of people don't know that I did martial arts many years ago, and I got to being a black belt. And but I feel like a black belt just said that I had the baseline knowledge to be able to do martial arts, but it was what you do with the black belt that is actually really matters. And there are many, many levels of black belt. I think it just kind of shows you that you have made the commitment to be invested in this, and you have the background. But to your point too, you can get a bunch of certifications and never use them or keep them up, so they're really just a paper or line on a resume.
I agree. And like I said, certifications can be good. I've seen some very good ones out there. But like I said, there are some that you just go to the room, you're getting a certification because you're there. The prime example I have is I'm assuming everyone who follows me knows, I coach soccer. So I'm invested in also building my coaching career and my chops there. So I've gone to a couple of these certification training licenses that are backed by US soccer and stuff. And one I went to, we were in the room and there were some very talented coaches there, just getting that entry level. And there was one person in the room who, no matter what the question was brought up, his response was, well, you got to tell them to kick the ball harder. That's all his answer was to any, oh, they need to kick the ball harder. No, in my opinion, sorry, that is someone who should not be a coach. They don't really understand what it takes. But he completed the course. He got the certification because he was there. Now, like the black belt one, I agree. Like that was good. But to move up in your career as a martial art, you had to take progressive steps. You know, I don't want to make this an ad or anything, but I'm currently reading Tim Albright's book. And he kind of mentions that about the belt he has, and you get the stripes on it, and those are visible mile markers for growth and a goal. And that's why I always see, like, yeah, if you're in a certification program, you can get those mile markers. Like, hey, I was a programmer one, now I'm programmer two, now I'm program three, and you can show you're building your skills because then you're putting value behind that thing. But if it's just, hey, I show up to the room and I really didn't show any value, but you're giving me a piece of paper, then that piece of paper means nothing.
So it's funny that you bring up Tim, and let's promote his book, Building on Ashes. Go get it. It just recently came out. Tim's a great guy. He's worked hard on this. This is a real personal story, and the teachings come from his experiences. So check that out, Building on Ashes by Tim Albright. But I was thinking exactly of the same thing because I'm also in the process of reading the book, and I thought that was very interesting. When he said, because he talked about the difference between, playing guitar and learning jujitsu, and he said playing guitar didn't give him much validation, but getting a stripe on his belt, and honestly, that's one of the reasons why I did taekwondo, because I could have done CrossFit or something like that, but how was I going to see my progress? The achievement was so validating for me, and I know we're
Yeah.
a little bit off topic, but it was something that I also related to.
And yeah, a little off topic, but I want to bring it back to those three questions. Is I think if any of those three, because there might be people who are yelling at our radio saying that certifications should be upgraded or updated or maintained or change things around. That's good for you. You got to find what motivates you. Like, and don't take this as any negative. Like, like with Tim's story, Steve, your story, those were external validation. Hey, I got an external validation that I am progressing. And some people need that, where some other people need that internal validation of, okay, I see the progress. Like I know I'm doing this and I'm building that. So you have to understand, for you to rank those three, is how do you get your validation? Like, is experience is where you're putting your hands on things and building, and you can see that that's going to be higher on your list. Or if you're someone who needs that external validation, a mentor or certification is really important to you.
Yeah, and that the other way to look at it too is what to what's going to help you advance in your career. So it's
Mhm.
one is what's going to help you feel good about your career and grow as a person, and the second is what's going to help you advance, which is a good bridge over to our next question. But I I think that there's a couple ways to look at these, which is what makes them really cool.
Oh, I agree. And good segue. And to our next question is, what is most important in hiring an AV programmer or a technical person? Technical capabilities, communication skills, or culture fit?
I I I love this question because it's something that I face all the time, and I think and I know that my top choice is going to be culture fit because if somebody does not subscribe to your organization, if they don't have common core values, if they're not on board with what you're doing, they're not going to be happy. You're not going to be happy. They're not going to last, and it's not going to be, and it's going to not turn out well. Um, the next one gets a little tricky because um, I think I'm going to say update the technical capability because I think you have to have some baseline knowledge in order to qualify for the job and something to build upon. And I know that people say that you hire for the attitude and you train the skills. In this case, I think you have to have a starting point, and I don't think that you have to have. I have hired people with potential. I think that's really what I look for, but you have to have the baseline knowledge. Communication skills, it would be deprecate, but it's not really because communication skills is really important. But I don't, but for a programmer, I would say unless you are terrible and you're turning people off, then I think we can work with you with your communication skills. You don't have to be client facing. You don't have to be the most articulate. You don't have to be somebody who is going to um, be speaking on behalf of the company or having the spotlight on them. So if I had to rank them, I would say culture fit, technical capability, and communication skills.
I good ranking there, Steve. And I think we're in alignment with the culture fit. Definitely number one. And that's not saying that the person is wrong for this wrong and or the bad. They're just not the right one to fit. Like it's going back to the childhood toy of the shape thing. You can't put a square peg into a round hole. You could, but you're going to damage both. Same
Yeah, that's a
thing.
good
It's
point.
not saying that the square peg is wrong. It's just not right for the round hole. So that's really, I think culture fit, 100% agree there. I'm going to say communication skills is the next one because we need to be able to communicate efficiently with each other, even if you're not communicating with your customers, like as a program, but they got to communicate. We're all working as a team now. There is no, well, there are very less lone rangers who can just go, here's my, what I got to do, type it on the keyboard and give out, in and out. There got to be communication. And there's a lot to communication. There's even the nonverbal communication. Because you think about it is no, like if a user puts in that, hey, I need to control the camera, the programmer might read that, okay, I'm controlling a camera. Because they have, and if they don't understand, they don't have that communication skill to understand that the user is actually talking about the projector. Because to them, that's a camera. You're not aligning. So I think communication skill is upgrade because that's to me is very big. Technical, I've always said this, tech can be taught. I have seen people who have very technical now are just okay, you're not going to fit well here, you're not going to do well, and you sometimes they're stuck in their ways, and their ways may not work for the environment. Um, I can teach tech to anybody. We can easily do that. So to me, I put very less value on someone with their technical ability if they show. that they can be taught, if they show they can be groomed, like not groomed, but advanced and all that stuff. Like prime example, I just recently got done holding tryouts for our club soccer. Long 4 days. My role was evaluating goalkeepers. So I would work with the goalkeepers a little bit, watch them during tryouts, and give my feedback to coaches. And we had some who came in. I was like, they are raw. I was like, they're not right for this level. They're going to get hurt at this level. And then there was one, and that person came in to try out. And I will tell you this, that person left the first day of tryout upset because it was a higher level. But I was watching this player. I was like, there's something there. I can work with this person. I can get them to a high level. And I went to the coaches. That person didn't come out to the second night of tryout. But I'm like, we need to get this person back here. There's something there. And then, so the coach did also agree with me, make calls and like, we really want this person to come back out. And then we worked with that person the next 2 days. And even those 2 days saw drastic improvements. So they didn't have really that technical ability, but they had something there that could be taught.
Yep, I think you're convincing me. I can think also to a recent situation where we had looking at some candidates for a role, and we had somebody who was a lot more experienced than the other, had a lot more technical capability now than the other, could probably do the job quicker than the other, but we hired the one that was more green because we saw something in that person, and we also knew that that person was going to be a better fit for organization. And I think if I if this list were to say attitude, I would have put that certainly higher, and I may have even put that first because attitude is critical to, and I think that hopefully our listeners too can also look at this and say, you know, even going back to the last question, you could have all the certifications you want, and you can have you can be saying I've been doing this for 20 or more years, but if you're not going to be somebody that can work on a team or fit in well in an organization or even be likable, if you will, you're probably not going to get that far.
Yeah, I I agree, and I'm sure our listeners are always sitting here going, "Well, Steve and James always agree." I just think, yes, we do agree a lot. We do have our own take on it, but like you said, Steve, like sometimes you say things, and I was like, "I haven't thought about that," and you helped change my mind. I want to say that's probably to me a very key aspect of anybody is who can actually listen, process the information, the viewpoint of another person, and be like, oh, okay. Because there are so many people who are just closed up, well, it's my way or the highway.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think that one of the reasons we do this is because we have, like I said, I think last time we have a lot of overlap, but we also have a lot of differences in our experiences. But because we work well together is what makes us be able to do the podcast. And so there's always going to be there's the meshing and also the differentiators.
Agreed.
Well, hopefully, as you mentioned, our listeners and those watching like this episode in this format. We've done this one for 2 episodes in a row, and I think that if we get some good feedback, we'll continue it and put it into our deck of different show topics and approaches. So let us know what you think of it, and also let us know if you have some of these types of questions that you'd like to pose, or even be a guest to join us in answering some of these, because that could be fun as well. but we've had quite a great lineup of guests. So please listen to some of our past episodes. If you're just tuning in here, we had Dan Farisi recently, who's been our uh, most present guest on our show. We've had many other guests that offering different opinions and different experiences and backgrounds. So please check those out in our recent past episodes. Um, and James, if people wanted to get in touch with you and talk further about either this or other things, how could they do so?
Google me, you'll find me. I'm out there. You can find me in the LinkedIn community as the programmer, on the socials, AV underscore James King. Again, Google me. I'm out there.
Excellent. And for me, LinkedIn is a great place. And whether it's the Ask the Programmer LinkedIn group or just LinkedIn in general, that's where I spend a lot of time at Steve Greenblatt. And my company, Control Concepts, we're a supporter of this podcast. And we're just announcing a new website called ccisupported.net. And that's a great place where you can download and see some of the products that we work with and the manufacturers that we support, and it's just a refreshed way to be able to offer programmers a place to go when they can look for trusted integration. So you could find out that at ccisupported.net, and our main website is controlconcepts.net. If you are watching this on YouTube, please check us out on your favorite podcast player in the audio version. And if you're listening, check us out on YouTube. And we're in both places, and there are great ways to leave a rating, review, or share your favorite episode. And we'd be honored if you would do so. And also join us in the Ask the Programmer group on LinkedIn. So we hope that you like these format, and we look forward to hearing from you in our audience. So until next time, this has been Ask the Programmer.